Hey all, Michelle Raza here with the Finding Yourself Book Club, and today we're going to talk about John Gottman's What Makes Love Last. We've been discussing 10 other ways to betray your lover. Please do check out our site. We're at www.findingyourselfsatx.com. There you can take our life balance questionnaire and contact us. The first consult is always free. So we've discussed an overview as well as the 5 ways listed so far of how to betray your partner, not having an actual affair. So we had 3 different videos covering chapter 3 of Gottman's book where we talked about the descent into betrayal and how, I didn't mean for it to happen, but it just happens, that whole thing. The main concept there is negative comps. And so Gottman basically talks here about 10 other ways that you can betray your partner, not necessarily having an explicit affair, but through other ways that will end up ruining your relationship. So first here is conditional commitment. Then we have an emotional affair, lying, just outright lying, right? Deceit, forming a coalition against the partner, and then absenteeism or coldness. And what we'll discuss today is withdrawal of sexual or romantic interest. The standard advice to rev things up with tantalizing lingerie, a weekend away, massage oil, etc. may help if distractions from work, kids, and other stresses or obligations have rendered the bedroom a no-touch zone. But a dwindling romantic life cannot be easily jump-started if the problem is related to deeper issues. The inevitable psychological changes related to aging could make one or both partners feel insecure and undesirable, but too embarrassed to reach out for reassurance. I've seen many cases in which a woman's struggle with weight gain leads a clueless husband to insult her attractiveness. The issue here is usually negative comps and disrespect. The partner is not being cherished. There are also many couples with mismatched drives. There is even some evidence that about 15% of heterosexual couples over the age of 45 simply stop having relations. Surprisingly, it is usually the man who loses interest. Many of these couples say this waning does not diminish their relationship satisfaction. But if this withdrawal is not addressed in an honest and loving way, hurt and rejection can consume the relationship. Let's face it, whatever the partner's reason, withdrawal of intimacy is wounding. You'll find specifics about addressing some issues of sexual unhappiness in chapter 11. So, talking about your drives being mismatched or just your needs being mismatched, this goes back to the same thing where we were talking about in the previous video of just how emotionally open or gushy you are, right? If your levels are just not matched, that doesn't mean that your relationship is over. But what can kill your relationship is when you don't talk about it, when you're not open about it. And so if one partner just desires more than the other and is constantly rejected, and you never have an open and honest conversation about what's going on, right? They may feel like, oh, I've gained weight. They don't like me for this reason. Or, they're still upset about that fight. So that's what's going on. They may make all of these assumptions in their head that are just absolutely false, right? And if you don't talk about the issues, about what's actually causing you to act a certain way, then you can't really resolve it. You don't have any basis for resolving a conflict or having the other person even know how you feel, right? How many times are you angry and you just stew over it and you don't even share what's going on, and then some time passes and you've got a life to live together, right? You've got kids, you've got work, you've got the trash to take out, right? You've got busy stuff, and you just kind of don't resolve your issues. And all of those little hurts, they pile up and they cause resentment and buildup, and that's what will break up your relationship. Gottman actually, so he has the Gottman Institute. If you go to Google, you can search it. He actually recommends a weekly State of the Union, and you don't have to call it that. You can call it whatever you like. But he recommends a weekly meeting between you and your partner, where you basically just discuss all of those little things that maybe you didn't get a chance. maybe they seem too small to bring up in the moment. You had other things going on, those things that are just kind of eating away at you, but they're not necessarily the worst thing, but if you never address them, then it'll build up. So just kind of having that weekly ritual to discuss what's going on in your relationship, the small things that bothered you. And he goes into detail in the book, and we'll go into it in one of the videos. But what he talks about is you start your meeting with 5 compliments to each other. So as even if you're having a fight, right, you need to start with complimenting each other, and then having your discussion. It sounds really silly, but you each have a notepad, like an old school notepad, and you have to write down your rebuttals instead of interrupting your partner. Because a lot of fights happen when the other person feels unheard. You won't let them speak, they won't let you speak, and it escalates, and before you know, you're having a huge fight about, somebody forgetting to replace the toilet paper roll or something really small. Going back to the withdrawal of interest, it's not so much that one person has needs that are not being met. It's more that the two people are not discussing what's going on. It's all of the unsaids, regardless of what we're talking about, right? If the fight is about the trash being taken out, if the fight is about the way someone drives, is the fight is about the difference in sex drives. It's if you don't talk about the issues, that's what will cause you to end up breaking up your relationship. And what Gottman talks about is, in a lot of previous works, the recommendation is active listening, and active listening is a part of it, except even a therapist, when they're practicing active listening, which is what a therapist does. And that's why if you've ever done therapy, you go in there and you feel very heard. You come out feeling like, wow, they really get me. And all they're really doing is listening and then kind of repeating back what you say to make sure that they understood you right. And then they're asking questions to keep you talking. They're not giving their own opinion. They're trying to get your side of the story. And so when you're practicing active listening with your partner, even a therapist, if they're doing an active listening with a client, and the client starts attacking them, right, they will change strategies to a different strategy. So, but then a lot of the self-help books recommend that when you're working with your partner, you do active listening, right? But if you're upset about something, or they're upset about something, behind all of those I statements, and Gottman actually goes into it, is they're attacking you, you're attacking each other. And so you have to be able to use a strategy that can counter that immediate defensiveness that each of you will feel. And so in further chapters, we'll get deeper into all of this stuff and the tips and tricks of how to succeed in your relationships. But for now, it's even just understanding, right, what are the things that we do in our relationships that we might not consider a betrayal, and they actually are. And so that's why it's important to go through these 10 other ways to betray your partner. So see you tomorrow. Glad to be here with you. And hopefully you do check out our website. We're at www.findingyourselfsatx.com.